The T20 World Cup is finally underway in India and Sri Lanka after a build-up dogged by politics and pullouts. We're going to go through the groups, look at potential shocks, and make our predictions. And Jonesy's favourite part, true or false / a quiz, is back with Silly Point. Remember to like and subscribe and enjoy the show. So there's been a lot that's happened prior to its start, but before we get into each group and what we think and finally some predictions that clearly we're going to be held to, let's just quickly go through the tournament format for our listeners so they understand, or they know. They probably know anyway, but just in case, there are 4 groups of 5 and the top 2 go through from each group. That's the Super 8s. Now, the teams have been pre-seeded, so if it comes out in the way that's been seeded, what's going to happen is that Group A of the Super 8s will be India, Australia, West Indies and South Africa. And Group B, I think there's X and Y, I think the groups, England, New Zealand, Pakistan and Sri Lanka. Clearly, Pakistan's a bit to talk about today. We'll get into a second. And after the Super 8s, top 2 from each, so then it's semi-finals and then it's finals. So it's the same format as the 2024 World Cup in the States, but that's how it's happened. Obviously, it's a 20-team tournament again, which is good for the game. Right, you ready? We'll start with Group A. India,
Yep.
Home, one of the co-hosts, obviously a seed in that group. If you look at the odds, they're 7-5, which is pretty, it's decent odds if you're, you don't want to bet against them. But no host nation has ever won a T20 World Cup on home soil, obviously. Can India be beaten?
I think clearly they can, yes, but it's being on their home soil. And I think the one thing which is a caveat is India on India with the spinning conditions. When you go to other countries, say like when England's hosted it, or Australia, somewhere like that, other countries, I think, come closer to them. But on their home wickets, home crowd, home conditions, everything, they're out and out favourites, and it would be a shock for them to lose, to be honest.
When we get to the prediction stage, they've got to be playing highly in your thinking, I'm guessing. But they've played a match already, and they've played a USA side where the board is in turmoil. There's been, which we've discussed before, bankruptcy and this, that, and the other, and then added complication, which we discussed last time, was Aaron Jones, their batter, being suspended from all competitions because of the anti-corruption stuff against him. Last time, Saurabh Netravalkar bowled really well in home conditions in the States and got them through to the Super 8s. Do you think he can repeat any of those feats and superheroic performances in this year's World Cup?
You think so? Yeah, if he's, that's again home soil. So India's bowling is, for me.
This is America. This is the USA.
USA, right? Sorry, mate. Well, they came close, didn't they? Their fielding is what let them down.
Yeah.
That was the issue. They had India in a world of trouble, and then
77-6. The Indians were.
Yeah, and then Yadav came in, and they actually dropped him. So the last 4 overs, India hadn't put any sort of total on the board, and then crucially, they dropped, I think it was 4 catches in those last 4 overs, of which Yadav was one, and then that put them. I think they put them on the total, which got them up. I think they ended up getting around 180 or something, didn't they?
But, they ended up getting. What did they end up getting? 170 odd, I think. Yeah, 170, 180. Yeah, sure.
And then that's always going to be difficult.
Yeah, Surya Kumar Yadav, Sky as he's colloquially known, 84 not out of 49 balls. So he gave it some tap there. The USA bowler Van Schalkwyk took 4 for 25, which is a good performance against that Indian, especially getting them at 77 for 6 at one stage. Now that's that. I mean, teams like the States, they've performed admirably in that first game. We're going to come on to talk about Nepal against England. I tried to get Stewie on the podcast, Stewie Law, who was the USA coach in the last World Cup. He's got he's come down with flu over in India, so he declined my short request for him to come on, but I'm sure we'll get him on at some particular point. But India won by 29 runs in the end. So what did that make? They got what, 260, 161 or so they got in the end. So does that give is it first game nerves, or do other teams in that group look at that and go, hold on, they're not as good as we think they are?
Well, there is a bit of that pressure, isn't it? First match, and I didn't see it, but I can imagine that the Indian batters try to whack it everywhere. And the one thing is, with a new white ball on fresh wickets, it can nibble around a bit, and so that's what you do in matches. You try and take some wickets. So in those first 6 overs, you try and get the oppo 3 wickets, 4 if if things are going really well, and make the use of it, because you know that if you don't, essentially what Yadav was able to do towards the end can happen. And so I don't think India will be too bothered, because they'll just be looking at their batters at sort of executing a bit better. And they've just shown that, well, even if we do get in a bit of trouble, look at our strength in depth. And it's something we'll probably touch on England with the depth of their batting. And that's what T20 is. In my day, when I was playing T20, if you got shuffled down to, number 7 or 8, you sort of, I ended up losing a bit of interest in batting, because it was sort of like,
Yeah.
well, okay, I'm either going to go out there and I'm not going to get a bat, or I'm going to be in there and I might get 1 or 2 balls to try and do something. But that's the way that the games move forward, is those batters sort of 6, 7, 8, 9. That's exactly what they're playing for. And if they can come in and make a contribution where, maybe that loads of wickets fall early, but if they're coming in and they're hitting 10 off 2, that's happy days. That's what it's. So the games move forward like that. The teams want a load of depth, because chasing down 10, 12 and over at the back end is commonplace now.
And does that have an impact on how the side's made up in terms of the bowling? We've seen a few times where they actually look at the England game, and they opened up with Jofra Archer, and he went round the park in his first couple of overs, and then they had to take the pace off. And actually then Adil Rashid went round the park, and there's only some control brought back by Dawson and by Sam Curran, especially in the last over, that stopped Nepal winning a match that at points or at times during their innings, they looked like they were actually going to get over the line. So does having batting depth have an impact on your bowling lineup?
It can do, but again, nowadays there's so many sort of mini all-rounders that can come into T20. They're probably not someone that, in the longer format, a bit like we saw in the Ashes with Will Jacks, they get shown up a bit in that format. But in T20 cricket, these guys can do a job. They come in at 1 or 2 overs. You give your captain options if other bowlers get hit around the park. And then again, on these wickets in India, they will start taking more turn as the tournament goes on. And so someone who can fizz it in and potentially hit a reasonable spot will cause trouble. So that's where you need your batting depth, but also there's no doubt that some of those batters can also give your captain versatility in the bowling front.
Yeah, talking about the pitch, Dawson seemed to be the one that was getting it to stop more than anybody else. And then there was a few times when the Nepalese batsmen were sort of playing through, and he was hitting top of the bat because the ball had gripped, and it was just popping up into a vacant sort of short area or catching area on the offside. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the pitches develop and stuff over the tournament.
That's the style of bowling you come up against in the subcontinent. Is over in England traditionally, and probably Australia, you get some, the fly to and you're doing some people in length. Whereas when you get the subcontinent in India, their bowlers bowl at good pace, and they really bowl at, we say, muscle it into the wicket. That's a term that I remember spin coaches saying. If you can muscle it in, you then can get some unpredictability out of the wicket. It might stop. It might skid through. And so then as a batter, if you can't tell that what's going on, it's really difficult to line the bowler up. And so that's the sort of style you'll see. That's why they try and get people bowling quicker and really forcing it into the wicket to get something unpredictable out of it.
The team that knows the conditions well in that part of the world is Pakistan. They are the other seed in Group A, winners of the tournament in 2009. I mean, they always produce talented but let's say unpredictable players, and you never know what's going to happen. They've played the Dutch, and they just got over the line against the Netherlands, won by 3 wickets, and it was only a Max O'Dowd drop catch where he dropped Fahim Ashram and went on to win in the match. That was probably the difference between Pakistan losing. Before, and obviously today the news has changed. There's been some ICC, PCB, BCB government level meetings, and the news has come out now that Pakistan has sort of pulled back from their boycott of the Indian match. So that will go ahead on the 15th of February. So it's got added spice, if you like, on that. But that Netherlands match was always going to be quite tough because the Dutch are spoilers. I mean, England knew that from a while ago. I think in the 2023 50 over version, they beat the South Africans. So we'll come on to the Dutch in a second, experienced team. But Pakistan, obviously now they're going to play their full complement matches. The whole net run rate thing is out the window. They are the other seed in that group. How do you see them going? Do you think what's happened so far will have affected their preparations?
Yeah, I always see Pakistan as a dangerous side in these tournaments because of their unpredictability. You can, and so the one thing in their favour now is all this goings on that up until today is now sorted. So during that Netherlands match, there's still, as players, they're thinking, well, what are we going to play the match? What do we, this could be so crucial. And so there's that little bit of has taken away from their focus. And you can't tell me that it hasn't, because there's so much.
Yeah.
As players, they want to play, and they'll be looking at the connotations if we don't play, and the fact that someone else is making the decisions for us if we don't. So I can see now that it's almost like a bit of a weight lifted off them. They now can plop their way through, and they can look forward. And so with that sense of relief, I think they could be very dangerous. And they've got some, they've always got very talented, skillful.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I remember from playing Pakistan is their skill levels of which they could reverse the ball, and their batters, their ability to hit the ball and strike. So, much like we laud India for, Pakistan are a similar sort of skill set.
The Dutch are always an interesting side, aren't they? I mean, they're experienced now. Scott Edwards, the captain. You've got players like Roelof van der Merwe, Bas de Leede, who've been around for a long time, and others. I think what would have been interesting is if they had managed to get over the line against Pakistan, how they could have gone on from there. Now, if we make the assumption, therefore, let's make the assumption that India will beat Pakistan for the sake of this argument. It is going to come down to run rates, I guess, again, because then saying that, the Dutch are likely to lose to India as well, so that probably doesn't count. But is there a way that you see the Dutch actually overcoming Pakistan to go through along with India out of Group A?
No, you'd have to take something extraordinary and something from those players, and they are experienced. And he's been playing county cricket for a while, and generally the South African guys are who bolster up the Dutch side, and so they've played a lot of cricket in South Africa and then in the county cricket, so that helps them out. They're probably just trying to think there in terms of, if you think of their level with the associate countries, it maybe puts them a little bit further up for who they have as access to players and what those players have done. So they have an element of danger to them. I just think that against Pakistan will be too strong. So I think, I can't see them progressing.
The key match in that group now is India-Pakistan before today. So yesterday, I think it was probably the match that's already happened, which was Pakistan-Netherlands. The key matchup, who's going to join India in the next round. So are we saying then that India and Pakistan are going to get through Group A? Is that the prediction?
That would be my expectation, yes.
A good word. I like that. We need to make sure that fence doesn't get too firmly wedged as we go through this podcast, okay? So I'll try and put you on the spot a bit more. Group B, Australia are yet to play. They're the 2021 winners of this. Josh Hazlewood is out, and he's out the Ashes, out of this. 11-2. They're the second favourites. England are 6-1. With another team, it might be South Africa, no, it might be New Zealand actually. Second favourites is Australia. I mean, they've got some injuries. They've got sort of a bit of they've been to Pakistan and lost 3-0 there, but they didn't take a full team. But Australian tournaments are Australian tournaments, are very, very difficult. Anything do you see anything apart from them going through?
No, again, I think they should, but I think with a little bit of unrest coming into it, injuries, and how sending effectively that second 11 over to play that series, and so they haven't Australia. What you'd hope would they would hope would come in with a bit of momentum. They're probably missing that, and add to that. Historically, I don't think they've been great players of spin,
Yeah.
and so and that could be that's a bit of their Achilles heel for me is that they could come undone against a country who they try and take their spin down too much and could put them under a bit of pressure. So I think, understandably that they're expected to go through, but until we see them start playing, I think they need to get into the tournament. Other countries have got into the tournament a bit better with their lead into it. Australia are, yeah, they're very unknown with
They
what's
are,
going to
yeah.
happen in that first match.
Yeah, a team that, I mean, I'm not expecting them to beat Australia, but a team that is full of spinners is Oman. I mean, they pick 4 or 5 spinners per match, and Dilip Mendes, the ex-Sri Lankan player, is their coach. I mean, and it's great, and they played Zimbabwe. They got hammered by Zimbabwe today. But it's great for the countries like that to be able to put themselves up against teams like Australia. And for the spinners, if Australia can't play spin and they've never played against the Omani spinners before, and yes, there's a golf in class and and experience and whatever, but this is a short format of the game. Anything could happen. Is there a chance of Oman causing an upset in this group, which, by the way, also includes Ireland, Sri Lanka, and Zimbabwe, who they've lost to today?
And I did pick up, you said Australia can't play spin. Well, good luck for those comments that are going to come in for
No,
that.
hold on. You said Australia can't play spin, and I said
No,
Oman.
I
And
didn't
I
say
said,
they can't
talking of
play
Australia
spin.
can't play spin, Oman have got 4 spinners. And also, I
Well,
edit this, so you never know. I'm never going to have said it by the time this thing goes out live
yeah,
anyway.
exactly. The issue with Oman is, I think, and what generally happens is, yeah, no doubt I think their spinners can cause trouble, but where it comes into it is the Australian quicker bowlers, generally, with associate countries, the quicker bowlers is what does the damage up top. Is where
Yeah.
they'll try and blow them away at the top with that pace, and that's something they're not particularly used to. The Omani batsmen can play at a level, and they'll be happy with whatever spin comes. I expect them
Mm.
to play spin well, but it's that next step up of fast bowling,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
generally causes associate countries trouble. So I think, you might see, a little bit of a wobble, but I don't see Oman getting anywhere near beating Australia. And then, the other countries you mentioned, Zimbabwe are
Yeah.
they're one that you could look at and think, okay, they're if they get themselves into a bit of form, starting it off well against Oman, they're someone who potentially could do an upset outside chance, but they're someone that could maybe throw their hat in the ring to cause a bit of a stir.
Yeah, they've won well today. They got Oman all out for 103. They were 106 for 2, won by 8 wickets. Brian Bennett, 48 not out. Sikandar Rana and Brendan Taylor, experienced players who, you could say could get into another side, pretty much those two. So, yeah, they're always an unknown, I think, in terms of that. So, now, another match, so that happened today, Oman versus Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe won. The other matches happened in that group is Sri Lanka, who are seeded winners in 2014 against Ireland. Now, so Sri Lanka co-hosts, but got hammered by England in the T20 warm-up matches that they had. The middle order is quite fragile. Do you think? And it's always that thing is the home pressure. Home side has never won a T20 World Cup, as I said at the top. Do you think the pressure will be too much for Sri Lanka with the expectations of a cricket-hungry, cricket-mad country?
Not so much the expectation. I just think the talents that they used to have is not in the side anymore. You think of Lasith Malinga, and then you got Jay Wadena,
Yeah,
Kumar Sangakkara.
Dilshan
They
and
had
all those guys.
world class. Yeah, and so you mentioned there 2014. That those guys then were in their prime, and they just haven't replaced anyone of that qualities. We saw that with England out there. So I think, they're a talented group, but they're not what they used to be at all. And so
Yeah.
that's why I don't really consider them too much. I think they will struggle. They'll beat the associates, but then when it comes to the main country, I just think they will just be short of what's required.
So they are the other seed in that group. So let's say Australia go through. Ireland is the other team in that group. Now they've got a poor T20 World Cup record. They're good in the 50 over version, but they're not that great in this. They didn't win in the 2024 T20 World Cup in the States. They didn't win a match, so they went home in the group stages. Does everything still rest on someone like Paul Sterling? He's been around for a long time. This is his 11th, I think, major tournament for Ireland. But are there other players coming through? Josh Lister, I think, the bowler, bowled some wheels over in the States, but he's had no form at all coming into this. And then they lost to Sri Lanka the other day. So, Ireland, are they making up the numbers, or are they going to be that side that challenges Sri Lanka for the second spot?
They've earned their spot. They're not making up numbers. But again, much like I said about Sri Lanka, I think the talent pool which they used to have, Paul Sterling absolutely has led them fantastically for a number of years. But then you had Will Porterfield, you had the O'Briens.
Yeah.
So again, these guys who could perform at that top level and did, they're not around anymore. And then the group you've got now aren't from. I'd have to have a close, but they're not playing the county cricket that the previous group used to be.
I think
so
Dockrell plays.
We're in the middle of the winter. Yeah.
Is he still playing?
But not
no
sort of regular stuff.
Yeah,
And he did well in the match, and so he's still. So you've got that as left arm spinner, and then you've got Paul Sterling. But again, their glory time of when they did well and they won matches at World Cups was on the back of having guys who played regularly in England who were successful and were able to step up, and I'm just not sure they've got that.
So you'd say that Australia go through, so that means the key match now in this group is on the 19th of February, which is Zimbabwe-Sri Lanka. You would say that that's going to be the match that's going to determine who joins Australia in the Super 8s. Is that what we're saying?
I think that's a fair shout, in terms of, I think they could be quite evenly matched. So yes, I agree with that.
So it's Australia or Zimbabwe, Sri Lanka in the next round, and India, Pakistan from Group A. So that's Group A and B done. And now it's time for Silly Point, Jonesy's favourite part of this show from the Ashes. We were doing these great 11s recently, which I thought were quite good fun. That involved a bit of thought process, and Patch and your mate Jago, or your mates Patch and Jago, they were a big help to you in building up these amazing 11s. But obviously they have got no idea what I'm going to throw at you in the true or falses, which is much better for me in terms of making this something that amuses me. But it isn't a true or false. There you go. That's my first trick up my sleeve that I've got. It isn't a true or false. It's a choice.
I was worried
because
choice. I was thinking he's got 20 teams here to choose something completely random from. And even when it was hard enough when it was just an Ashes theme, throw 20 sides, throw 20 nationalities in it. Oh my gosh. So, all right, mate, I'm ready for it.
Well, this is, it's actually it's a pick one multiple choice question as opposed to true or false, right? So, and it's current. It's not like, and the good thing for you is that T20 didn't exist in the 1850s. And that needs to mean it's got to be 2007 onwards. And so that's better. So the question is this: who hit the most sixes in the 2024 Cricket World Cup, a T20 World Cup? I'll even give you the options. Was it A, Travis Head? Was it B, Nicholas Pooran? Or was it C, Rohit Sharma? A, B, or C? Who hit the most sixes in the last World Cup in America? Geraint Jones.
Well, as I tell my students, multiple guess. I've got a 33% chance here.
Yeah, Ofsted are listening. They always watch this show.
Yeah. Instantly when you said Nicholas Pooran, that's who I who I went to. So I'm going to trust my first instincts there. So
Okay.
B, Nicholas Puran.
Travis Head hit 11 sixes in that tournament. Rohit Sharma hit 13 sixes in that tournament. And Nicholas Puran hit 17 sixes in that tournament. Geraint Jones, you're 1-0 up in the T20 World Cup. True or false / quiz / anything I can make up to make sure I win competition. So that's a good start, mate. Well done.
Well, he had a bit of a glory period time around then, Nicholas Puran.
Yeah.
I think he had a sort of a couple of years where he was outstanding, and I think he went down to Australia and did similar stuff. So yeah, well done me.
Yeah, well done you. Very good. Right. Please remember to like and subscribe and enjoy the rest of the show. Group C. We've done A and B. We've done the quiz with Silly Point. We've got no cop that in this show because I just wanted to get through all of the groups, in the course of this 45 minutes. So we'll get cop that in next time round. Group C is England's group. They are the seed winners in 2010 and 2022. Turbulent off-pitch events, obviously, with Harry Brook and the Ashes and yada, yada, yada. We don't need to go into that. They are 6-1, as I said. Do you think this tournament will be the final reckoning for Brook and for McCullum? I think more so McCullum. I think Harry Brook, he's done interviews, he's come out. I think that'll just go now. I think as long as he keeps scoring runs, yes, people will bring it up and whatever, but that's fine. But Brandon, McCullum, I think the writing is still on the wall. Do you think if they don't? First of all, I think the question is, what is the expectation from the ECB for England in this tournament? And the second question is, if that expectation isn't reached, do you think that's the end of the road for McCullum and the coaching team?
Well, if we don't make the semis, then yeah, I think you can expect some changes. That's first and foremost, especially when you look at the group. But I think this tournament's they're definitely under pressure, aren't they? I think it's come quickly after the Ashes and everything that's gone on there. So in a way, McCullum and co are thankful of that, but bubbling under the surface is the knowledge that we need to do something in here to make up a bit. And so for that side of it, you're right. Harry Brook's not going anywhere. When you look at the way he's playing, he's could potentially play for the next, who knows what, 15 years for England if he sticks around. Coaches do come and go, and you're not going to keep the same coach for that period of time. So Harry Brook's position is safe, but it's for someone like it's another stern test for McCullum, and you'd argue it's in a format that he's setting the side up for, is to go out there, be brave, be confident, stack the batting. So much like we saw Jacks come out the other night and pull them out of a bit of a hole, that this is exactly what McCullum has set this side up to do. So he's probably breathing a bit of sigh of relief. He got pretty shirty in a recent interview, saying he's sort of a bit fed up of what the press is saying, and so he clearly wants to move on. But I think his aura is all around confidence and giving batsmen the opportunity to go and play like you do in T20. So if we don't, I think semi-finals at least, if not finals, is what the ECB, the ECB bigwigs have probably penciled in their first-class flights to go and watch England in the final. That's what they'll be hoping.
Yeah, I think that's about right. And they've had an interesting start. And the Nepal side scared the living bejesus out of them in terms of how close they got to beating an England side that only got up to 180 or 184 or whatever it was, thanks to Will Jackson the last 3 overs going for 45. Was that a good test for England and has knocked them out of any sort of complacency or whatever, or is that an indicative, I think, of the level that England is playing at?
Nepal should have won that.
Yeah.
Nepal will be kicking themselves how they haven't won it, and it wasn't for if it wasn't for that incredible over for Sam Curran at the end there, they should have really romped it. For me, the worry was a team like Nepal being able to chase down and get off to the flyer that they did, because with the bowling side of it, you can't be looking for other bowlers to get you out of holes all the time. You need you know, you need getting into a rhythm of a tournament. You want your Joffres coming in and getting some early success, and when he comes back at the end, getting wickets, hitting Yorkers, you know, getting those dismissals. And so with Joffre not doing that, the way and then being hit up the front, that was my
Mm,
concern, is that, hold on a
yeah.
minute, listening to it, they didn't seem to be particularly troubling the Nepali batters. And so you roll that forward to arguably better batters against who they'll come across as they come further down the line. What are England's options going to be? I think they're going to try and chase down anything and set massive totals. But if teams aren't fearful of chasing whatever England have set because they're not fearful of their bowlers, then that's a worry.
Yeah, that middle order where Rohit, Podal and Airy hit, 82 off 9 overs, and Adil Rashid, 3 overs, no maidens, 0 for 42. I mean, this is England's, premier spinner in this format of the game, and he's getting absolutely tanked around the ground. And some of the shots that those guys played against Archer, pace on, pace off, either straight drives or just like slog sweeps, and they were just timing this ball so well. Credit to the coaching setup there. I should keep this actually for my for a question for you in our great quiz, but I'll find a different Nepal question. But Stewie Law is the first coach to take 2 qualified sides to a World Cup. You know that? There you go. You see, that's a
Mate, yeah.
fun fact for you there. But you can only think that England are going to improve from where they are now. Who's the other opening bowler? Luke Wood. Is that his name?
Mm,
Yeah, Luke Wood. He,
yeah.
he bowled what crucial the over before Sam Curran. I remember I was practicing my commentary, as you should do, watching the tally, and I said to anybody who wasn't listening that this is a crucial over for it could go either way. Either Nepal are going to get very close to winning this game, or England are going to be home and dry. He went for 17, I think. He bowled 3 wides, 4 wides. And the pressure was on. I know lads come in for overturn and whatever, but that is a concern for England, that the pressure that Nepal will put on them. And I'm not disparaging Nepal. That's they've got a great coach there, tactically, and they just got that Nepalese side set up well. And the other seed in that group, interestingly, is the West Indies. Winners in 2012 and famously in 2016. Darren Sammy is the West Indies coach, and he was the captain at 16 in Kolkata when Ben Stokes was the recipient. They got a powerful batting lineup, and they played Scotland their first game, and Shimon Hetmeyer came in and just smacked 64 off 36 balls and game over. They could be a contender, the West Indies, I think. Going together, I think the seeds, England and West Indies, I don't see that anything's going to really challenge that, but they could go a long way.
They're fearless, the
Mm.
West Indies, and it's now what the as a country that they play the most of. They have a very successful CPL tournament, and then their best players go around the world and just play T20. So they're a fearless group of batters. And the key will be with their bowling aspects of what skill sets they have there, who can finish off their matches, because that's the other thing. Rob Key, when we had success with Kent, when we won the T20, he was very much a believer in that you work out the rhythm of tournaments, and,
Hmm.
with who you start, and it works its way naturally to. So when you're talking about England there with Wood bowling that second last one, well, it might be that they look at it and go, actually, let's roll Woody the third last one, and let's bring Joffre and Sam Curran to finish, and so those little subtleties tend to work themselves out, and that'll be the key for the West Indies. I think their batters will just play one way. They try and hit the ball
Yeah.
far and wide. It'll then be the key of how they manipulate and what their strategy is around their bowling to get the right guys doing the right thing. And the fact that they are experienced around the world T20 has definitely got to hold them in good stead when it comes to this world. And they do love a World Cup. they step up. They enjoy and they embrace them really well.
The last two sides in this group are Scotland and Italy. Obviously, Scotland, late entrance after Bangladesh. Do you think Do you think that they're going to go in undercooked? I guess. I mean, they have to be. They had no. I guess they're in some sort of indoor net facility somewhere. A few of them might have been playing down under or grade cricket or whatever. But fundamentally, they've all had to come together last minute for this. Do you think that? Do you think that the fact that they are underprepared is just going to work against them, and that it's going to be a short World Cup for them?
Yeah, a lot of the guys would have been in Edinburgh. Dorks, the coach, Owen Dawkins, he was, he'd been away with the under-19s at a World Cup in Zimbabwe, but he was then going to join the team up in Edinburgh in the indoor facilities there, building up to what they had coming in the summer. And so if they'd have known about this, they would have been overseas. They would have been, getting themselves on conditions. They would have been on wickets, but they haven't do that. So they are going to be massively undercooked. And so with that, I don't, as much as I'd love them to do well, because I think Grant Stewart, he plays for Kent. He took Italy's first ever World Cup wicket today.
Mm.
When he took, I think you got George Munsey out.
Yeah.
And so yes, I'd probably, Scotland for me are going to struggle purely because they've, 2 weeks ago they were in Edinburgh in the indoor school, and so it's such a massive ask that they'll probably get better as the tournament goes on, but they won't be able to progress at all. And then Italy have done amazingly well to be there. They've got some Aussies, they've got some South Africans, no doubt, and so they will do well, but I don't think they'll trouble those top teams.
Well, the irony there, of course, is that today Scotland were the first team to get over 200 in this tournament, beat Italy. George Munsey, you mentioned earlier, got 84 or 54 balls. But the irony, of course, it was Italy that stopped Scotland qualifying in the first place. So, they're both there in tables turn, which is a nice sort of symmetry, I guess. Yeah, the Italians, JJ Smuts played T20 for South Africa. He's in the Italian side. Oh, if you read social media, he's never been to Italy. One of those sort of stories that come out of these things. But they're coached by the Aussie John Davison, who famously hit all those runs for Canada in a World Cup all those years ago. So they got, it's great. Again, I've said it before. It's great for these countries. Yes, it's a lot of same as the Dutch were back in the day when Kolpak was around, that sort of thing. A lot of South Africans playing in the Dutch, playing for Holland. And that's got them up to where they are now. And it's great to see Italy in this World Cup, and Forza Italia, as I would have said when I lived there. But so fundamentally, you've got England, West Indies, and Nepal. They're the three sides who are vying for the Super 8's place. Key match is the 15th of Feb, which is the same day as the India-Pakistan match. It's a great day of cricket there, where Nepal play the West Indies. What two are you going with there? England are one, I'm guessing.
Yeah, England through, and although they showed how closely they can run a top tier country, I've still got to stick with the West Indies, purely because the players that they have playing around the world and playing regular T20 cricket. I'm sure Stewie Law will be sort of cursing me for that and saying don't write us off, and I'm not. I just think that the West Indies will just have that element too much strength for those other three sides.
Yeah, I asked him to come on, but he's got flu. So, we'll have to just send him this so he can come on later and berate you for the comment. We'll try and get him on after the West Indies Nepal game. See,
I'd love for him to come on and gloat. If it's something,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, we'd love that, wouldn't we? Yeah.
Yeah,
we would love that.
Having played for an associate country, you're talking about Scotland, and and it is the ultimate. These guys are, and now that it's been opened up to the 20 countries, whereas before we would, sort of there wasn't a chance of doing it, and when now the ICC have changed the way they do it and they've opened it up much wider, it's given these associates a real sort of thing to work before, because before you just play and you actually had some mini tournaments amongst some nations, depending on where you're seeded. But actually now is that real sort of uh, pot of gold at the end of the rainbow to go to a World Cup, and that's something that you can live with for the rest of your life, and that's
Yeah,
what these
exactly. Yeah,
guys are getting those opportunities to do. So I think it's fantastic, and what we want to see is some upsets. We want to see these teams because we want to see them beat some of these main countries because one, it does cricket some good,
yeah,
and also it does those countries some good to keep going, that inspiration back in their countries for the next generation to say, you know what, I want to follow in the footsteps and go off to a World Cup.
exactly. Group D is the toughest group of death because it includes South Africa, New Zealand, and Afghanistan. Let's go with the two smaller sides in that first of all, UAE and Canada. UAE are yet to play, but they've had the IL T20. Some of their players, I think, have probably played in that. Do you again? I suppose it's the same point, really, isn't it? It's great for for the likes of Canada and UAE to be in this tournament. They're unlikely to overturn either South Africa, New Zealand, or Afghanistan, but if they do, it'd be a great achievement for them and to build cricket in those countries.
Yeah, again, I just see. I think the wickets will bring it closer towards them than a Canada, because of it's more likely what they're used
Yeah,
to playing on their home
mm,
wickets, and so
yeah,
so that aspect of it, I think, is an advantage for them. But I just don't think the UAE of progressing the same way the likes of Scotland,
no,
and Ireland, and so I think they've sort of arguably have reached a limit, and getting to the World Cup is amazing, but that next step up, which is a big one, to put some pressure on, and they need to beat a main country in order to progress. I think that's way
yeah.
above their ceiling that they can't get to.
Afghanistan beat the West Indies in the warm-ups. They were semi-finalists in 24. Disappointed, I would have thought, to have lost the first game they played against New Zealand, 182 for six. Afghanistan and New Zealand winning, sorry, by 5 wickets. Tim Seifert, 65 or 42 balls. New Zealand and South Africa are two countries that have never won a T20 World Cup. Um, they nearly lost to the States. New Zealand, says, nearly lost to the States in the warm up. We said about, they're playing T20 warm up matches in India before obviously this tournament. They got beat 4-1, got a few injuries, but New Zealand are always dangerous.
Yeah, they love a World Cup. They're they punch massively above their weight in all forms of cricket, and so when it comes to a World Cup, they will unite, and yeah, they're not too worried about how they come into it, because they come into these tournaments, and they know what needs to be done in them, and so New Zealand for me would be one, despite their sort of lack of form, shall we say, they'd be one I'd be putting through. And so I think possibly the match is whether or not UAE can do something special against South Africa. I don't see it, but that's the one potential, because not UAE, sorry, Afghanistan
Yeah.
can do something against South Africa. But again, I think that's just that little bit of a bridge too far, because South Africa have again they've really focused on their T20. The tournament that they host at home, they've sort of pushed aside some Test cricket to play it. Again, their players play it around the world, and so they've really had a focus on it. So from this group, I'd be expecting New Zealand, South Africa, but I'm not putting out there that the Afghanistans might do an upset on South Africa.
Yeah, well, that is the key game now, isn't it, between those two, with New Zealand having already beaten them. That match is on the 11th of Feb, so a few days' time, and then New Zealand plays South Africa on the 14th of Feb, presumably to see who wins that group. Look, I mean, South Africa are interesting, aren't they? They've never won the T20 World Cup, as I said. They were runners-up the last time round against India, but obviously the World Test Championship, not that there's a massive correlation, but maybe from a momentum of the sport in that country perspective, there could be. There are some great players, but they've always been given this chokers tag, which they got rid of at the Test Championship final against Australia. Can they go further than the Super 8s?
I think they can. Yeah. I think that. Of course they can, because like you said there, they've got rid of that tag, the Chokers tag, which has surrounded them for a long time, since Alan Donald muffed that that run out, I think it was. But and so they're
I was
also.
there
I
that
think they've.
I was
Oh
there,
well,
Edgbaston, yeah,
they've.
99. Yeah.
Yeah, but they've.
Mm.
I think what South Africa have done is that they've recognised that the longer format of cricket in their country is a struggle, and so let's focus on the short format. That's where we're going to bring people in the crowds, and also it lines up with the T20, and it lines up a bit with their skill factor. They're strong, they're powerful. They've got the one aspect, I suppose, and without looking really closely at that, it would be their quality of spin.
Mm.
If I was to think of South Africa, I would always say that they've got high quality bat, high quality. You've got Rabada with the bowling.
Yeah.
It will be, have
And Geedy
have
took
they got
wickets.
that next levels, next level spinner to, in those middle overs, to be able to take a sort of 3 or 4 wickets, really cut down the run rate and change a match. That would be my area that they would need to, their area of strength that would nearly need to fire on to get them all the way through to the end.
Right, so they're all the groups done. I'm going to put you and me on the spot. I want your semi-finalists, your finalists, and who's going to win the 2026, not 2024, as I posted on social media the other day and got ribbed for it. It's 2026, my man. 2026 T20 World Cup. So
I didn't see that. Oh, I would have
I
loved
kept
to.
it from you. Yeah.
Ah.
So I got him. So if I mean, you
So
basically,
semi-finalists. That's
semi-finalists. I'm just going to go back to the seedings. I just want to make sure that you didn't. I don't think there's one group where the seedings, as I said, are what are the seedings? India to win Group A and Pakistan to be runners up. So they're in separate groups. Australia to win Group B with Sri Lanka as runners up. And I think that's the one where you didn't say Sri Lanka. I think instead of Sri Lanka, you thought that Zimbabwe would qualify. And then England to win Group C, West Indies come second, South Africa New Zealand to win Group D and South Africa to come second. So they're the seedings. So the only thing there is you saying that. So India, Australia, West Indies, South Africa is one group of the Super 8s. England, New Zealand, Pakistan, and in your case, Zimbabwe are the other. Is the other group?
Hold
right?
on, I'm not sure. I said potentially. Potentially.
Okay.
I said that they could to be honest,
Backtracking.
they were ones. I don't recall it. I think this. I think they potentially could cause an upset against Sri Lanka, but I'm not sure they will. So in terms of that, I sit on my fence and go with the seedings.
Going further up. Okay, fine. So India, Australia, West Indies, South Africa. Who are the semi-finalists from that?
India.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who will they play? Do we know?
Well,
how do we work out who they play?
They win their group, if they win that, they're going to play the second place of the England, New Zealand, Pakistan, Sri Lanka group. So give me your 1 and 2s from Group X, I think it is, which is India, Australia, West Indies, South Africa.
Yeah, as you said, India, Australia at the top.
Okay, and then the next group is England, New Zealand, Pakistan, Sri Lanka.
England, Pakistan. I think Pakistan, with everything that's gone on, could well unite them a bit and give them that bit of fire in the belly. So to get them past New Zealand or Sri Lanka, whoever they play.
So England are winning that group, are they?
Yeah.
So you've got India, Pakistan one semi, and Australia, England as the other semi. Just write these down so we can revisit them.
Yeah, so you don't change it. And or the only this is where the jeopardy comes in. The worry of the England fan, where you think, yeah, all's good, yeah, we'll cruise that, and then you actually think, hold on a minute, where's our slip up going to be? where we going to have a wobble? But no, I'm gonna stick with my guns, and I'm going to say it's an India-England final.
Yeah. And who's going to win it?
India, I'd say. I
Okay,
just
so here's
can't
mine.
look past them.
No, so mine is actually very similar. I think India, I've gone for New Zealand to come second in that Group B, Group X, Y, whatever it's called. So India, I've gone for India and New Zealand, one of them, and England, Australia in the other one. I also think it's an India-England final, but I'm going to say, come on, England. This is the chance, the great redemption after the Ashes debacle is winning this T20 World Cup. So I'll make sure, obviously, I'll put that clip on social media and I'll hashtag India lose T20 World Cup 2026 and let the torrents of abuse begin,
Can you
as you
imagine the
mentioned.
party that Baz and the boys will have if your prediction comes through?
Mate,
I don't think they'll be sober before the first test.
no, and I think they should go to Noosa to celebrate. Has got to be the
Yes.
perfect full circle.
Yeah.
Win the T20 World Cup, get to Lusa, and actually have a stag weekend. I think that's the way forward
Do you think
for.
they could, I don't know if they do open top buses in Australia. Should we contact Noosa Council and say, can the England team have an open top bus around Noosa, please?
Yeah, exactly. Especially if they get actually, what would be even funnier if they beat Australia in the final, if that's how it works out. So that would be good as well. But anyway, there you go. Couple of other bits to do, Jonesy, before we wrap up this first T20 World Cup show. Just other couple of bits have gone on, and we'd spoken about them in previous shows. The Under-19 World Cup finished with an India-England, same final. The two predominant superpowers of world cricket, England and India, met in that as well. India, blimey, 411 for 9 in their 50 overs. That superstar, Suryavanshi, 175. The kid's 14 years old. I mean, he's going to be, I'm going to say today, he's going to break Sachin's records. He's that good and that young, I think. Even reply, not shabby. That's
Wow.
311. Yeah, I'm going with that. I'm going to say it now. Put it everywhere. Suryavanshi, he's going to be the greatest batter that ever lived, which is now currently Tendulkar on the records. England's 311, Falconer 115. I mean, they did all right, the boys, didn't they, the young lads? I mean, their bowlers took a bit of a spanking, but ultimately got to the final. And to get 311 in the finals, facing that daunting score is a good effort.
Creditable, isn't it? But the match was ruined. 175, ridiculous. That was I'm not gonna be as bold as you. I don't think he's he just tries and hit sixes, and so in terms of the longer format, he may well. I think he could be a limited over phenomenon and maybe match the records of Kohli and Sachin in that
Charmer,
regard. But
those guys,
I don't think he's going to be. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be the test player that this is me never being let in India, but I don't think he's going to be the test player that those guys were. No doubt at his age, and
you'll be all right, mate. You've bigged up Sachin and Kohli. That's all you got to do to get an Indian visa, So you're fine. I'm the one in trouble. I've got to try and draw on some ancestral some stuff to get in next time. And the other thing, which also in was the WPL finishing up, RCB winning it. Against the Delhi Capitals. They'd led the league anyway, so they were the first to qualify for the finals. They got 204 for 4 in the final. Smithy Mandela 87, Georgia Vole, she got 79. They beat the Delhi Capitals by 6 wickets, for whom Jameen Rodriguez got 57. We're going to have at some point over the course of this T20 World Cup and to talk about the WPL, we're going to have Prakash Wakankar on, the Indian commentator who's currently on BBC TMS. He's going to come on and talk about this tournament. But, I didn't watch much of it. I followed it kind of, on socials and stuff more than anything else. But, it's a great thing. It's a great tournament, and RCB coming out on top.
Yeah, and it just shows the strength that where women's cricket globally is going. I probably now, as you were just talking there, and with everything that's going on, it's probably just been a shame when it's been scheduled because there's been so much that
Yeah,
may be something they. I know this year's been a bit with the Ashes and then the Under-19 World Cup, and then we're going into a men's T20 World Cup, and so I just think that they need to look at. There's shoehorning it in, isn't it? It probably hasn't been given the full airtime that it deserves. It's been, there's been other cricket taking our
yeah,
sort of taking our time away from it, and and so that's probably the one shame for me is that it needs to be given that a bit like the women's 100 over here runs alongside the men's. They play
yeah,
double headers, and it really shows how good that is, and so I'm sure they'll look at it and when they can fit it in. But that's probably the one thing because it's definitely something women's cricket needs. All the men have spoken how amazing going over to the IPL is, playing with the top players in the world, learning from them. So it's
yeah.
only going to do the women's game good. I just think they need to maybe give it a bit more of a spotlight than this one had because of the scheduling.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go. That's the first World Cup show done. Yeah, we're going to track these predictions as we go along, obviously. Try and get a couple of shows a week in because there's so many matches at the start of a tournament that only lasts a month. So we'll get some in, which means I need to get some good questions out in the true or false for the quiz so I can actually have a chance of winning this one. Dormy, I believe, on the Ashes one, Jonesy. But there you go, mate. Thanks very much again, and I will see you quite soon.